Tom Vasel's top 100 games of all time. Some say that Tom is like a giant among men. Others say he's a little obsessed.
Yeah! I don't even have a top 10.
Tom Vasel's top 100 games of all time.
And here we are once again with 10 more great games. Well, of course, it's my opinion, but I really think, one of the things I like about the top 100 list is being able to share with you my favorite games because, as I do lots of reviews, this year I think I'm going to come close to doing 400 or 500 reviews. That's a lot of reviews, and there's a lot of games that I say are good because they really are. But this kind of focuses to what I think are the best of the best of the best. And now that we're in the top 30 out of 3,000, this is the top 1% really, which is exciting. So let's get into these. I actually got a couple new games on the list today, and so I'm very excited to talk about those. Here we go.
Number 30, Defenders of the Realm.
So we start out with a really heavy game, very big game, Defenders of the Realm. Now, when I first played Defenders of the Realm, I was very excited about it. I still am excited about it. It's a game that I believe has made all 3 top 10 lists, mine, the People's Choice, and Melody's, although mine is the highest, because this is such a game that just brings me a sense of excitement. I have seen this game where everyone thought they were going to lose. Everyone thought that the bad guys were going to defeat them, and then at the end, they triumphed. The good guys won, and that's just a really neat experience. And it's a cooperative game. It's one that players get to play different roles, barbarian, or and with the expansion, there's so many different extra ones that they've added, all these little hero pack expansions. And I think that's one of the coolest things about the game is because many games have these roles, Pandemic, Flashpoint, Fire Rescue. But in Defenders of the Realm, the rules are really defined to the point where they feel much different than everyone else. When I'm playing as a barbarian, I'm going to act much different than I am if I'm playing the wizard or if I'm playing the cat burglar or whatever the different categories are. They have a very different feel to them, and that makes every game very different and exciting. So that's why I like Defenders of the Realm.
Number 29, Shadows over Camelot.
Here's the first of 4 games today that's been on the list for all 8 years. In fact, this one's been on the list in the same position practically. It's 29 this year, and when I first brought it on, it was number 30, and that's Shadows over Camelot. Now, there are a lot of cooperative games out there, and I'm going to credit Shadows over Camelot with breaking the cooperative genre wide open. Lord of the Rings was the very first cooperative game, that had any kind of splash, by Rainer Knizia, and it was a good game and got a lot of accolades, although very few people play it today, and I think it's kind of paled beyond the advances that have come. But Shadows over Camelot just blew everything away to the point where it's still being played and enjoyed today. And the coolest thing at it was that trader mechanic involved, that somebody was possibly a traitor. And that is so much fun. In fact, they just released the card game version of this, which I'm having almost as much fun playing this as I have this. Now, not quite the same, because the Shadows over Camelot board game is just grandiose and fun and exciting. Now, the theme in Shadows over Camelot is not necessarily from the game. In fact, you can make an argument that the theme is not quite as strong as it should be. But the theme comes from the interaction between the players, plus the beautiful production, and just a lot of back and forth. There's arguments, you've already seen Battlestar Galactica on my list, that's a better game, and it might be, but I found this one has been so much more accessible to people for me that I end up playing this one more often and enjoying it a lot. Shadows over Camelot.
Number 28, Sentinels of the Twiniverse.
Here's a new game to the list, and is this a new game even though it's not the first year it came out? It was out last year, but didn't make my top 100 because while I enjoyed it, I felt like it was decent, and then they added an expansion, and then another expansion, then they made the new edition, which fixed some of the problems I had with the game, like trying to keep track of hit points so much easier now. Woo. Now, you might notice that this is yet another cooperative game on my list, and that's because I'm a big fan of the cooperative genre. Don't get me wrong, love competitiveness, and that's great too. But this is superheroes, and that just makes it fun. Yeah, there's superheroes that are made up. They're not Marvel, DC, Image, etc. But they are superheroes that are interesting, and you can feel their backstories coming out. I mean, they have their backstories in the instruction manuals, but you can feel it because each hero plays very differently. And that's what makes this a really fun cooperative game. You get together a group of people, say 4 people, and you pick 4 of the, 20 plus heroes, and you pick one of the villains out of, I think there's 10 to 15 villains now, and then one of the different environments, 10 to 15 environments, and that gives you such a huge variety, and you can scale it. And some teams don't work together as well. There's a reason they're called the Fantastic Four, because they work together. And so you're looking for heroes that work together, and if they don't, can you still win the game? With really good artwork, a really cool production team, I really enjoy Sentinels of the Multiverse. It's a game that's worked well with kids, it's worked well with adults, just brings forth that comic book flavor. And I'm a person who's kind of opposed to all capital letters on cards, but here it makes sense on these cards because they're comic books, and it feels like you're opening up a new comic book universe. And maybe someday someone will write comic books about these guys. That would make it come full circle. But meanwhile, I'm going to have fun playing this game.
Number 27. Livers of Italia.
And then another new game on the list. As soon as I played this, I knew it was going to make my top 100. Didn't know where. This is actually pretty high. Where are we? 27. And it's not on the People's Choice list, but I'm going to wager that it might be in coming years. Because what Libertalia does is it feels like a grown-up version of Citadels. It is just an absolutely amazingly fun game. And this from the designer of Vasco da Gama. And that just goes to show you that you never know. Anybody can design a great game, and he may have designed 2 great games. One was certainly not my cup of tea, but this one most definitely is. I love this game. In Citadels, you have 8 roles, and you're picking one of those roles each turn. In this game, there's 30 different characters. You have a hand of 9 of them, and everyone has the same 9, and knowing when to play them. So there's this kind of bluffing and out-bluffing other people, and looking at the board and seeing what treasures you're going to get. It all comes together in a very entertaining game, a game that works well. In fact, when I got this the very first week, I think we played it 5 or 6 times because it was so entertaining that week, and it's still being asked to be brought all the time. And the artwork is phenomenal. The game isn't that long. We're talking 90 minutes at the most, and it plays very smoothly and easily and feels very piratey while we're on it. So a great game. I expect it will be on my list again next year, but we'll have to see. Meanwhile, it's there for now. Libertalia.
Number 26. Time's up.
Another game that's been on the list for all 8 years is Time's Up. Now, this is Time's Up Title Recall, which is my personal favorite of the grouping. Time's Up, though, is a hilarious party game. And here I go putting another party game on the list, although I think this is the second last party game you will see, but this is a great one. I so much enjoy Time's Up. I think the fact that it has just absolutely humorous effects as the game goes by, because it mixes the best parts of caricatures games and just trying to get someone else to guess something. The frustration between people is just great. And I love this game. I love playing it. And when I go to a party, this is one of the games I will bring, although we have to temper our enthusiasm with not screaming at each other the whole time. Time's Up is a game in which you're trying to get people to guess different words, and you use that by first giving them clues, then the second round just one word, then the third round anything that you just can't say any words. You can do noises and grunts and expressions, and you're doing all this within 30 seconds with your partner, trying to get them as fast as you can, and the results are amazing. You would have to watch it. Hilarity ensues every game I've ever played with this. Even people who aren't party game players will find themselves rolling on the floor laughing at Time's Up.
Number 25, Lost Cities.
Another game that's been on the list for 8 years is Lost Cities. Now, Lost Cities is a small box. The theme about exploring cities is barely there. The cards are simply numbered cards in 5 different suits. And it's a 2-player game only. And yet, I have so many good memories of this game. The cards that I have in my Lost Cities here are all worn and beaten up because of the times that they've been played, and a few times where, maybe they've been thrown a few times. But the game itself is so tense and so entertaining as you're playing cards down, trying not to discard cards that your opponent wants, because any card you discard is likely one that they want. So you have to discard cards that hopefully they want less. And then when they discard a card you want, are you going to take that card and fill your hand with it, or are you going to hold out for a better card? And that back and forth just is so entertaining. We're talking a 30-minute game, has a bit of a mathy scoring system at the end, but that has not dissuaded me or pretty much anyone else that I know from playing the game. It's an older game. It's been out since, what does the thing here say, 1999. So we're talking a 13-year-old game here that's still going strong and still one that I would recommend. Lost Cities.
Number 24. Bedline. Dun dun dun.
Here's the companion to Lost Cities, and that's Battle Line. Now, when I did this 8 years ago, Lost Cities was my number 10 and Battle Line was my number 46. Now they've gone up to 24 and 25 respectively. Battle Line is very similar to Lost Cities, but has a very different feel. Again, it's a deck of cards in different suits. This one has 6 suits with numbers that you're playing. And again, trying to play cards and kind of a tense game, who's going to play cards where first. But Battle Line also, it's based on an older game of Knizia's where he just had the number cards, and then this one added a deck of special cards that you could also play that would change things up. Now, I played with or without the special cards, and that works in both situations. The theme here makes more sense, I guess, with the soldiers, although, again, like Lost Cities, the theme here is a bit meaningless. Battle Line is a fun game. I don't play it as much as Lost Cities, but I personally enjoy it just a bit more than Lost Cities because I like the logic of it. I look around at all the cards that have been played and try to determine what combinations can still be played at a location to see who can win that. Am I able to play 3 9s here? Well, there's 5 9s in the table, so no, that means there's only 1 9 left. And stuff like that, to me, makes this one a fun, very fast, but very engaging 2-player game.
Number 23. Innovation.
Innovation, which comes in a much thicker box than you probably have, because this was the original one, then they sold it in a thinner box. Innovation is the history of the world in a card game, or technology in a card game. Now, I like Innovation. It is a fun game, although very divisive, and the people enjoy it. But for me, Innovation really turned the corner last year when they added the expansion to it. The expansion, and for some reason I'm having a hard time remembering what the expansion's name was. The expansion, Echoes of the Past, that's right, just added so much variety and so much back and forth. I mean, the game was already varied. The game was already chaotic and crazy. This added more of that, and it didn't make it more chaotic, it just added more chaos. And more back and forth, and more to the point where I didn't know if a certain technology would be in the game or not. And I just enjoy it. Now, granted, I will not play with more than 3 people. It's a great 2 or 3 person game. There's a lot of games that are like that. But it's just fast and fun if I can find people who enjoy this more than any other game. I mean, it's kind of like a Magic the Gathering fanatic club that's growing up around it. So people are like, oh, I love Innovation. I love playing with those people because it's fast and brutal, and the best person usually wins, but you're never quite sure what will happen. And that's why I like Innovation.
Number 22. Cool stories.
I ain't afraid of no ghosts. The ones in this game, I am. Ghost Stories. Now, this is not a new game. It was on my list, but it went higher. Last year it was 28. This year it went to 22. And if I'm looking at my list here correctly, and I believe I am, then this is the highest ranked cooperative game on the list. And it is there because it's so straightforward and so fun. The ghosts come marching into your village, and the Ghostbusters would do horribly against these ghosts because these are the ghosts of horror, legend, terrible from the Chinese and Japanese ghost stories, and they're scary, and you have monks who are going to fight them off, and you must work together, and they just keep coming. You fight and fight and fight, and maybe you'll fight off the final evil big bad ghost and win. Or maybe you'll die before that, which is more likely. But I love this. I've beaten it. I've beaten it several times, and I have lost to it countless times, and yet I have fun every time. It has a very strong thematic flavor, great artwork, a lot of fun. It's just an easy one for me to add to the list. I like this a lot. If you've not played it before, certainly you should give it a try. Ghost Stories.
Number 21. The Dungeon Twister.
Dungeon Twister is another game that's been on the list for a really long time. Started at 23, even hit my top 10 for a while. I was very much enjoying it. Now it's at 21. So you can see it's still a game that I like quite a bit, even though I'm trying not to have everything fall out of the box there, because getting everything into this one box is a chore. They came out with Dungeon Twister, then the 3 to 4 player expansion, then expansion, and that's the ones that came out in English. If I had played all the expansions that came out in France, I mean, I would need 2 of these boxes. Now I'm a little sad because while this came out, the Dungeon Prison, Twister Prison, which was great, had plastic miniatures, was kind of a nice upgrade to the game, although perfectly compatible with the old ones. I'm a little disappointed that ever since this has come out, no more expansions have shown up. We're not seeing any more, and I wonder if the game might be dead. Not dead, because you can still go play and have tons of fun. Dungeon Twister managed to mix kind of a chess-like feel with a dungeon game. There's no luck in the game other than how the tiles come up. The game all revolves in which heroes you've picked, and when you're fighting against your other 8. You have 8 heroes, your opponent has 8 heroes, and how you use them. And with all the combinations here, there's heroes that are weak but can get you more points. There are heroes that have special abilities that can be very useful in many situations. And knowing when to use those heroes and whether you're going to try to either get out the opponent's side, run across the dungeon to get out, and that gets you a point, or to take out your opponents. And each opponent you take out, each character you take out, is worth a point. And the first person to get 5 points wins. It seems very simple and very easy, but it is not. And it works really well. It's a very thinky game. Some people might be turned off by the dungeon theme in general, and I can understand that. But behind that theme here is a great game. And for me, this theme works really well too. So, easy choice. Well, folks, that's it for today. Come back Friday to see numbers 20 through 11. 2 more new games have hit that list. What games are they? I really think you'll be surprised at one of them, but it's a game that people should be talking about more. But anyhow, if you'd like to see all these games, you can go find them at my website at dicetower.com, a full listing of them, as well as my daughter Melody's top 100 games, and then your top 100 games, the People's Choice top 100 games. I'm very excited. Also, don't forget the Jack Vasel Memorial Fund auction will be starting in just a couple days on Thursday, so go check out our website for that, and Board Game Geek to find out more information when that starts on Thursday. I'll see you guys soon.
Some say that Tom is like a giant among men. Others say he's a little obsessed.
I don't even have a top 10.
Tom Vasel's top 100 games of all time.